All right, so this set of notes is going to be about economics. So when you're thinking about your unit summary, your grapes assignment, make sure that you're referring back to this particular piece because this is going to talk about two different economic systems that are going to be in battle with each other for several hundred years in our history. So, as always with your notes, make sure that you are jotting down things that you feel pertinent and needs to be remembered. And if you have any questions at all, let me know. So, up to this point in history, it's largely been a basic capitalist system. People buy and sell things. It's a little less entrepreneurial because a lot of people are peasants and they're doing the only job that they have ever known, that their families have ever known, but at least that they are creating and selling. But in the Industrial Revolution, we've got some changes that have come up, including that the standards of living have increased, that some people's access to things have greatly improved. And with that came a lot of problems, sort of like that Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. With great wealth comes great responsibility as well. Sorry, I dropped my stylus and it's doing crazy things. It's also going to lead to some pushback against the capitalist system and the haves and the have-nots system. And that's when we're going to have socialism and communism emerge. So the first one that we're going to talk about is capitalism. Capitalism and free markets is what we use in the United States loosely. We do have a little bit of a different system than pure capitalism, but free market competition and the ability for people to own their own businesses. This is the system that you learn about in personal finance. I am doing a terrible job writing on these today. I apologize for that. It's written about by a man named Adam Smith. He's up there in that picture in a book called The Wealth of Nations. And he talks about how, in order for a country to do well, it needs people to be allowed to make their own business decisions, to decide what to sell, when to sell it, how to sell it. And as a result, this capitalist system meant that people were buying and selling lots and lots of different goods, and that is changing things. And the middle class is going to emerge as people become their own managers, their own businessmen, their own company owners, and the American and the European nations are all going to start seeing that rise in the middle class. The flip side of that, though, is the poor working conditions and the unequal distribution of wealth. We are going to have in the Industrial Revolution the first millionaires emerge. And so you've got people who are making more money than the world has ever seen. And at the same time, you have people that are dirt poor, that are living on the streets. You've got the families where they're sending their 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds to work because they can't afford to pay their rent in their tenants. And people are going to be super upset about that and that juxtaposition of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And that's what Karl Marx and his friend Friedrich Engels are going to speak out against in their book, The Communist Manifesto. And then Karl Marx is also going to write about it in Das Kapital. That's an L. I don't know why it always cuts off when I'm writing in italics. That's an O. And that's an L. That O doesn't look much like an O, though. Whoops. Communist Manifesto. Sorry. They're going to talk about the injustices of capitalism. This is the gap between the rich and the poor, having millionaires while also having homeless people, etc. And so, according to communism, the whole point is to redistribute the wealth, to get rid of social class systems, to tax the wealthiest of people, and then takes that tax money and spread it out to the people on the bottom to make sure that everyone has access to the same kinds of things. That's the premise of communism. The premise of communism is to take all the money in the world and then divide it equally amongst everyone in your society. So everyone gets the exact same amount and everyone is the same. That's the concept. That's the theory behind communism. And the theory behind communism makes a lot of sense and there's a lot of hope for it. The problem is just throughout history, it just never works out. So I am going to go through just a second. It's called cow economics. Economics, actually. Economics. Isn't that cute, right? Economics, but with cow in there. Which takes the concept of capitalism, socialism, and communism. And actually, there's a whole bunch more to describe how things work in reference to a cow. So in traditional capitalism, which is not exactly what we have, but it is similar, you have 2 cows. You sell one of the cows, so that you have a bull, so you have a boy cow and a girl cow. Your herd multiplies, the economy grows, you sell all your cows and retire on the money that you made, right? So you're doing X, Y, and Z. Your actions change your financial situation, right? You are the entrepreneur in that situation. In communism, you have 2 cows. The state, the government, takes away your cows and gives you some of the production, right? So they would take the cows, they own the cows. We're going to talk about collectivization and at some point in the future. That should be an I. Collectivization. Collective farming, where the government was taking all the farms, not buying, taking all the farms, and then they're giving the people working on the farms some of the profits from that farm. That's what communism is, that the government gives you exactly what you need, equal to exactly what everyone else needs. Whoops, wrong button. Struggling a little bit today, guys. Sorry about that. Socialism, which is also a Marxist concept, is where you have 2 cows and you give one of the cows to your neighbor so that you're sharing, and it's a social thing, but the government is not taking from you. The government has a lot less to do with it. It's much more reliant on individual equity, and to each according to what they have, to each according to what they need. So if you have an overabundance of something, you give that overabundance to somebody who needs some of it. That's the socialist construct. So I hope that was understandable. I hope that was pretty easy to get. Let me know. I know that economics is a tougher sell. Hopefully some of you guys have taken personal finance and that helps a little bit, especially with the capitalist constructs. As always, let me know if you have any questions at all.